There we are. We are live. I just gotta get that screen out of the way there so I can push that. Got my new icon up there. Well, it's a new old one I had before, and it's kind of spooky looking, so I thought I'd throw it up. Let's go over to my playlist. Excuse me. We are going to see. I got a playlist of others videos related to Bigfoot study of connecting through time. So in other words, what I'm saying there is I believe I see some connection in some of those videos with what's going on. So right here, what do I want to find? I want to find my Ramsey videos. So I should have done it, but I'm doing it here. Mission Bridge. It's probably in there, but that makes it good. I think I should have one where it's just him. How is everybody out there? Hope everything is good. So what I want to do is maybe it'll be in here. I want to bring up Ramsey. Whoops. Shoot. Bloop. Well, I guess the best way to do it is try to search it, I guess, then, eh? Must be this one right here, then. Okay, I think it's a ways in, so how can I do this? I think I get to go this button here and go down to my comment and see what I said. Maybe it's not there. Whoops. I don't need to do that. Whoops. I don't need to do that. Deep in the woods, shapes and objects that I see. This might be exactly the one. Alrighty, let's just dive in deeper. This is the same time, the same day. Just don't know if it's when I was zooming in on Ramsey or not. I'm thinking not. So that's obvious, I would say the video just before. Meet Ramsey. There we go.
Get the deal you came for and more. Yes! At Bed Bath & Beyond. Woo!
More money, guys. More money. I just made, what am I making? I'm making like, I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 cents there. Gotta like it. My viewings are way down. People are talking like I'm doing good and stuff. And I appreciate the motivation to keep me going. I think this is when we're coming into Ramsey now. Put the volume up so we can all hear it. so I'm able to just pick it up, and there is actually a trickle happening out there. So I see a lot of colors of them in here. Through these bushes. On this bit of a zoom, part of my problem is part of my screen covered up where I don't get the full picture. I'm only seeing about half of it the way I got it. What did I say? Did I say it was up in the 9s? I was trying out my new camera and stuff, and I don't even know why I really did zero in where I end up zeroing in here. And together we'll just kind of look at it, and I'll get some new insight on it maybe, but it's based on what we're going to look at here is me calling it the Ramsey clan. Yeah, this was the day I followed the bear into this area. So here I go into a super zoom. As soon as I do a recall here and see something, which it's around, I think we might have just missed part of. Okay, let's just stop here for a second. Yes, perfect. Okay, so the focus is a little off. So I'm going to, we're at 9:57, I'm going to try that a little bit better. Gotta go down more. Hey Empress, how's it going? Thank you for joining. So, I want you to keep in mind some stuff here, okay? Because what I'm doing is I'm giving you guys a really good breakdown of just the part that I can see in here that establishes is some kind of a weird being going on. And I ended up calling this clan the Ramsey clan based off of what we're going to look at here. But what I want to point out before we quite get right down to him is, see if I bring this over here, now I can point, you see all that coloration right there? Keep that coloration, like that's a very weird looking leaf or something, isn't it? You see that coloration right in there? You know, you're watching for this grayish green in a way, okay? Now right down here, probably those two black circles we see could be part of where we're going here. Could be eyes or something. Remember, they do piles. And usually if you're going to find something that you think resembles some kind of a being, there's probably more there in, I would say, many of the cases. So let's just go a little bit further in here. So right down there is where we're starting to come into some stuff. Okay, I think that's a pretty good zoom right there. I mean, a pretty good focus. So if you look at that right there, you see that thing? See the shape of it? I'm going to put the red dot on it here, and I'm going to follow it around, okay? So the red dot now, which is pointing, has its edge kind of touching it, and I'm going around the edge of it. And to me, I get a couple of different things out of that piece right there. So I'm going to put the red dot right on it so you can see how thick it is. I can't cover it with the red dot in there, and then it does an actual turn. And see, what we're doing right now is we're just a whole lot of faces. Okay, yeah, you're seeing some stuff in there, right? Whoops. So what I'm trying to get us to do right now is I'm trying to get us to just focus on this one in particular item, being. Let's call him a being. And you come back to not necessarily this video, but use this video maybe along with watching the real video, which is the titles right there and stuff. Okay, 9:56, there we go. And along with that together, you guys are going to have such a ride. And I want you to share these two videos. I want you to realize that this is mind-blowing. I can't pull in fully, like, this is my working station mostly, is this little phone right here and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's use that red dot as our main pointing tool, okay? You see that shine right there that I just hit? Went right on top of, right there in front of it, right on top of it. Doing that a little bit because I don't know how deadly it will be on your end. That is maybe the eye that we're going to look for. Anyways, you see this gray thing that I think looks kind of like a horn. Okay, and then an eye right here. You get to see a face down here. And right here you get to see more of that gray that goes with that gray. That might be that gray right there that is different than this one. So there's a couple of different things that I almost feel like I see out of that gray. I almost feel like I might see where there's a head here. You know, the head's here, an eye here, and somebody kind of going like that to him maybe. So I look at those gray things as two different things. I look at them as I can see a horn in it. I can also see like it's a claw, like it's a, what do we call our fingers and stuff? Not so much a limb, but, you know, like that. So I'm painting that whole picture for you while we watch these couple of seconds here. Keeping in mind, I don't think before this moment. I think only after this moment is when we got all of this guy in here. So let's just watch him here. I'm going to push myself way off and over to the edge there. Sure, there's other things and other eyes back there and stuff, but right now, people, we want to focus right into this spot, right behind my head there, and watch those two gray things, specifically like their horns or something. Well, let's just, I forgot I had that kind of a zoom there, so let's get that better zoom there going, okay? Backed up a little too far there, but that's okay. You know, it's just weird where I have to put my hand, I gotta put it in front of your guys' face, and it kind of bugs me, but it's where I'm trying to get my Wi-Fi. Okay, so right here, right there, you see that shine? I'll go down a little bit lower. There, now I'm on the shine. You see that shine right there? It's almost like it becomes my finger. That is what we think is the eye. And we actually get to see what looks like blinking and stuff from that eye. So let's just see where this takes us here. So that was pretty awesome. Let's just go back there again. So as soon as he comes in, well, there he is. Now we're going to zoom in, guys. See what I think look like claws. I'm going to do a... Dang it. Yeah, I don't have to worry about that because I keep thinking that I'm putting that in front of your guys' face, but I'm not. It's still only that red. Okay. So I don't have to worry about that thing so much. You guys kind of feel me there, I bet. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to just try to get that... Whoops. Ah, dang. Sorry, guys. Okay, there we are. I should look at the number, shouldn't I? So, I got it on a very lousy spot there, but let me... Does this work if I do this? So no. No. So where am I? 10:05. Dang it. Okay, what we're trying to accomplish is really being accomplished anyways, guys, really. That is something there. That down, probably that thing right there is probably its eye. But you really do get to see his eye. I'm just going to run this thing right through here. And that's what this video is about, is bringing you guys to that guy. which this clan is based off of his. See, look at the draw there. Like, I'm zoomed in as far as this camera will go. I think it was a new camera. It doesn't work that great. It's poor focus. See how he's there again? And it's like there's body size attached to that thing. There we go. We got him again. I think this is where I start, but there again a little bit. So it happens a lot where I get them just, you know, obviously if I'm getting them, I'm just getting them on this side here. See if I come back. And remember, people, yes, that could be two eyes. There could be a dozen heads behind that right there. But there could be two things that look like eyes, is what I meant. That could be two eyes resembling. But there could actually be a dozen heads back in there of small heads. These guys are phenomenal in numbers. Phenomenal. I know many of their tricks, many of their ways of hiding and so on and so forth, and I know how to go out there and kind of do.
There's a J upset somewhere.
Many ways. So I even think at times right here, but I haven't really gotten into it, right in back in there is where that guy is. And there's other ones scattered amongst. And what were only so many times, like in my video called First Face to Face, it's my first face interaction with a face that's in there. And he is in there for over 40 seconds. And people who don't see him and stuff, absolutely, because there's 40 seconds for you to observe. And you don't ever tell me, no, those two black things you're saying are just this. That thing where you're describe about the stick there, that's this. Those people never go into that. They never get into the characteristics of what I'm really describing in that first face-to-face video, because their mind's not bringing them into there. They're just looking at this thing and going, what the frick is he talking about? He doesn't have any clue what he's talking about. They don't realize that when we're looking in here, we're actually going past sticks. We're looking deeper, you know, we're going further into the video, and we got to see that thing behind that eye that is that far and that small on your screen right now, looking through my fingers. And you got to figure out how to see that. And then you get to see some shape of head and stuff. And then once in a while, you might get a little something like that lucks it out, that adds to your piece of information. Okay, I got horns on them. I got some kind of eye thing going on. I got some kind of an eye blink, wink, something that happens on this video. And here I am fully offering it to you to try to figure it out if you like. Because these things are going to freak the crap out of our world. There he is right there. I'll go right on top of him, like right above him. So right below, I think I'm seeing maybe two horns. One horn going down that way, and then one horn going down that other way there. Right there, I think I see some eye shine. It's either that or it's around in that, or it actually could be part of this more bright stuff, but somewhere in there, like when I'm detailing it, and because I can put this onto even my YouTube, say I'm going to do a breakdown, make a smaller copy of it, and it'll do the really refined pictures or whatever. But on this in particular, just YouTube program, we don't get to have the pleasure of that. But let's just try I'm going to have my hand up there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother you guys. I'm going to go like this. That's not too bad. So you see in that? You see how I can get it mixed up with some fingers on somebody's head? But I don't think it is. I really think those could be like a horn. But I don't know. And right there, somewhere in that area, right in this part of the pie, right around in here, in this part of that guy, you get to see some eye stuff. So you do your zoom in here and stuff. You see right there? That may be two eyes right there. Dunk, dunk, you know, dunk, dunk. And if you start looking at leaf sizes when you're in here, and then you start to bring in like a tree that you really recognize, like an evergreen tree, and you try to bring in their needle sizes and see what you see. I think there's a lot to see there. See the turn? That's when the turn happens. Okay, so we're going to rewatch this from around 10 to 10:08. And we get to see an actual turn of the guy. I think we might even be able to pick it up from these 3 seconds here. So let's watch that quick. See him turning? So you'll get to see that turn. Because if you think about me turning on a long zoom, it's pretty hard for me to do a turn that isn't huge down that distance. Yeah, he's really starting to stand out with me. Now, right around now, see almost an eye there, and then a turn of the head to hide the eye. Beautiful. I love remembering that. And that's where you get to see a real hook of something it almost looks at. Let's look at that gray thing again. There we are in close time. And when he turns, we get to see the hook a lot more. I think. Let's go. So the turn's happening right there. Yeah, it seems to me like that thing's turned in from a less of a thing like that to turn more like that, almost where you get to see the hooking of if it is really a horn. Get that out of there. There you go. So bam. See his eye there, and then he tucks his eye in behind that stick. There's that leaning stick there. Wow, this is beautiful. Let's get rid of that. I'm enjoying this. I hope you guys are. Okay, so here we go. So he could be like 2 feet tall, just somebody sitting there or something with a rack on his head. See that eye thing? And then it turns in behind this stick. That's beautiful. Are you seeing it, people? I hope you are seeing this. Let's watch this again, man. Okay, here we come in. We get to see the eye open. Maybe. You could see that eye thing right there. And then it turns away. I hope you guys are seeing. Like, I'm going to come right over beside where the main junction of stuff, and it's right here. See, there's the eye. There's the eye, the whole white thing there, and then it turns behind the stick. I have no doubt in my mind, 100%, I know there's somebody hiding from me. And deer don't do that. Wow. I don't know if you guys are excited as me, and it doesn't have, I guess maybe I get some excitement because I've been talking about this thing for 3 years. And this little YouTube thing gives such a, wow. I swear, man, I hope you were seeing it, because I think once he turns and his eye goes behind that stick, he goes from this side of the stick beyond, and then I think we get to make out his eye on that side of the stick. So what those do, those are compiling doink, stick, doink on this side. That I can't adjust like this very much. All I'm doing is a slight change like that, or else this long distance gets messed. See, I can't put my finger on it. I so badly want to put my finger on it for you. Okay, so maybe there I'll do it. I'm going to do that again then. So I'm going to do a pause at that and make sure you guys are really seeing what I'm referring to as the eye, because there's always those things. Okay, so we got to come in. Okay, so right now, really well to me, I'm picking up that is the eye. That thing there. So whatever is beyond on this side right now may be a secondary eye, may not. But I think that right there, that lighter spot is an eye. So we see this stick that I'm coming down the edge of right here, that one, or there's another one closer or something. It seems to me that that in particular eye does some fluctuation, like, whatever, moving maybe thing. And then that stick is here. All of a sudden he does that turn, and that turn like that, and then tucking in behind the stick, you get to see the eye on the other side, whether it's a tuck behind the stick. All these sticks that are close to us, they know how to use those as advantages for them hiding behind those sticks and screwing up our eye vision, because they know exactly if the species are across the board for more or less having really good attributes like each other. Hey, Ninny, come here, buddy. But anyways, if they have those really good sharing attributes, I tell you, their killer pinpoint on my eyes is deadly. And I have a way that I can explain it to you, but I'm not going to explain that part of the theory right now. So I'm going to zip this forward a little bit. Okay, so let's go back there again. Those could be fingers, See how sometimes there's things that stand out around these guys. Anything that stands out, anything that has a little bit of a little shine, anything that resembles hand shape. There are lots of branches, there are lots of twigs, there's lots of things out here that sort of have a hand shape, but there's nothing as well as a hand that has a hand shape. And these guys do hand shapes. So if you're seeing anything that resembles hand at all, take that moment and observe it, is basically what I'm saying. So we're going to try to get that eye thing going a little bit better there. Not that one. Oh, yeah, good. So we're on the zoom. There. Beautiful, I'm glad. So that right there, and you see a slit in it, or do you not see a slit in it? Now you watch that slit in your viewing. We're going to try it right now, but in your viewing, I'm going to leave myself right around here. And in your viewing, I want you to try to view it. Now you see the width on that gray right there. So this gray, that the red is from here to here, is the thickness of that gray that I think is attached to this. And those come around like that, those gray things. And then see how it almost seems like you're maybe seeing a certain edge of it or something, the gray? Like how a horn actually has its different sizes to it. It's not like it's completely round a horn, so you can't break down the sizes. And if you want me to prove how I have horn experience, go to a movie called Air Buddies with all the puppies. Go to about 42 minutes or so into the video when they go to the barn. And that ram, I can't remember that. Anyways, that's Bull, who you get to see as the goat there. And that was our family goat, so in that movie. So I do understand horns, and that's how I'm able to bring these horns into it a little bit. But at the same time, I pick up the view of fingers understanding that. So below my red dot, exactly right there, that's his eye. Ninny just came in here. This is awesome because he doesn't come in the car very often. At all. It's not very trustworthy. Anyways, so we are going to go do. So once again, that eye is still right here, okay? Still similar shape, if not exactly the shape. It's like I'm getting some of the video cut off, guys. I think we might be getting, or at least on my end, I might be missing for whatever reason. Okay, blurry, I know. But I think that brightness isn't the so-called eye. There is where the so-called eye is. Right now, partial turn is probably starting to happen. Might be because of my just viewing up, but my view up We're talking so slight of a view up. Change on my angle. To make it a heavy change on that angle. I'm sure you guys understand that. So right here, we're getting to see more curve on that horn. That eye part of it thing, I think, is right there, maybe slipping behind that twig. See that other thing earlier that I said might have had two eyes that are right above us now? It's more of a solid, like it's a head. Because that's not, I don't think that's the same gray as where I say, well, maybe there's two horns splitting off. It's kind of weird how they seem so close together, but yeah. You never know where their real placement is and stuff. Like this is, so yeah, look, I'm not moved much. But that eye, whatever I was pointing out there, has moved its location quite a bit now. And so see what I'm saying? I'm seeing all the way down on this edge here. I'm seeing this becoming one thing. Like, so whatever those are on, they're on something that is becoming this thing here. Almost seems, was that a movement backwards at all? That might be two eye shine or glows right there. These beings have eye glows. And that's why I'll say, depending on how the species in the end of the day fully connect and be what they are being, you know, until we get that all together. Okay, where am I here? Yeah, I just want to leave that over here. I almost feel like some of the video's cut off. Okay, so I'm just going to run through that again because of that. I want to watch that turning again. There we go. That was around the 10:05 is when it's doing its cranking, okay? There he is. So it gives so many characteristics of horns. Growth pattern, almost type stuff. There's the turning going on there. Okay, let's go into, if I have anybody around. Let's see if anybody's around. Say your highs and stuff. Yeah. I hope people see something there. I hope people get an idea of where I'm going with that. Whoops. So how do I get... Oh, yeah, I just touched that, I think. There we go. Nobody else around. 5 watchers. 4's thumbs up. Anybody out there? Anybody out into chatting or anything? Saying the hellos or anything? Or do you want me to... I don't know. Do you want to view my new video right here? We can do that. Anybody has anything to say or anything? Let's do it.
When my dad asks, what are you?
I'm gay. Let's go to the beginning. So, this is what we have here, guys. Is we have cattle. We have a field behind them that Bigfoot, these beings of the forest, these beings of night, and so on and so forth, they utilize heavily. This is a small mountain. There's caves in that mountain. Going off just back over that way, over a small hill, there's a nice big pond, you know, where there's ample water. Right at this in particular spot here, this is all connected to hundreds and hundreds of acres. I don't know how many hundreds, but We got to get up into hundreds and hundreds, and a heavy portion of it. So right over here, you see all that blackness there? Study those areas. Go like this. Pause. Take your viewing thing like this and put it on the camera. Like if I put this on the camera and I go over there and then I go pause and play, or here I should be doing it so you guys see the thing, but so I do pause and play, and yeah, that's huge. If you happen to have a zoom ability, do your zoom ability. I don't have to pause right now. Good day from down under, right on. How's it going? Good to see you around, Mr. Wood. I got a couple of kids that are hanging out down under right now that are coming home from a year vacation down under. Well, if you want to call it that. Hello, Robert. Number 802. I'm doing good. Can't complain. I just did a good breakdown, you guys, on busy working. Right on. Yeah, I hear you. Taking time out, that can work for all of us, can't it? So we, oh yeah, I just did a breakdown of a video. It's called my Ramsey clan. What I encourage people to do in that one, because it's what I'm trying to point out there, I'm really trying to reach out to other people and say, what do you feel about this in particular thing? Because it's out there. So bring up the early part of this video and if you have the computer, put the actual video up at the same time so you don't have me necessarily hanging out in the way or whatever type thing. And once you figure out what the examining area is in that video, I think it's worth zooming. It's worth really figuring out and trying to understand. So in this video here, I'm just showing, see these black areas right there and stuff? Those are preferred hiding areas. They know those are preferred hiding areas. If you watch and learn and study and watch for hours and hours, shadowing in those darker fir type trees and stuff, it's more understandable than we may just guess at. And most of us have not, but I know how much of a studier I am in this world of, looking into these beings, trying to figure some stuff out. I know how serious I am about it, how much I care. I'm going to try something. Because you guys don't always need to see my face, do you? And that way I'm not always, because I keep looking at myself. I can't help but look at myself. So it's a pain. Always making sure my lipstick's straight or whatever type thing, right? But anyways, so those black spots there, in the darkness there, can they be that close to those cattle? Yes. You know why? Because they mimic comfort. People who get lost in the woods, if we ever find women, most of them that in a day, within those first 2 days things, probably come out feeling quite comfortable. And yeah, it was not too bad. There was birds around. I sometimes felt like this comfort. Maybe they don't talk too much about craziness sounds they hear too much or something like that. And I bet you guys come out from those lucky cases and they would actually be able to tap into, it was kind of windy, noisy, it was kind of freaky a little bit, I could hear howling, I wasn't hearing any puppy whimperings like a woman might be getting blessed with. There are examples of those things that are going on, and those are what help with the deer, with the cows. They're making noises or whatever, keeping them around, keeping them comfortable. Not 100% I'm saying that in particular spot now. But if you really look at some of that darkness that just went away from the thing there, and you look at some of the darkness up in there, and what you have to do is you got to remember you're looking at one dimension in a way. It looks like all those trees are just planted on top of each other sort of thing. They could be 30, 40 feet in between these leaves right there and that dark spot back there. But we can't really tell by just examining it like this. But once we get up there with that, maybe that macro, using one of these things or whatever. Oh, thanks, Rob. Whoops. Oh, like that it comes out? No. Where does that thing come in again? Okay. There we go. I've learned a lot. Busy working. Thank you, Rob. The knowledge is power, isn't it? It's, oh, don't disappear on me. I see why people complain, because you guys can see all I'm pushing here too, right? So it's funny. Bigfoot could be right in front of you, and unless it moved. That's exactly it. That is so much in it. And that's what you get to see in the first front of this clip. Yeah, I get the same. Right on. Yeah, and you know what? The Yowie is connected with our guys, and I can help you establish that, seeing as though you're a Yowie looker. Hey, look at that little bit of brightness right above my circle there now. There was, because of eye shine is why I'm trying to point that one out. Because when it's in a dense enough area where they can't be picking up light from deeper going, like right there, we can see through the window. Oh, that's all that's happened is the end of the video there. So where was I there? Down in one of those areas? No, I guess maybe I wasn't seeing what I thought I was seeing. Oh, right there. I think right there. So I'm going to bring it back directly right above my... Because it's kind of relating that. Because I'll tell you something else. Because in this video right here, I was doing some viewing, some close-up stuff. Like I'm telling you right now, 100%, I have so much faith in knowing there was tons in here. They're in here, they're in there, right down there behind my red dot. Right in there is an awesome spot for them. They love that spot because this tree is closer to us. And those are spots that they really like. See that? I'm kind of using my red dot, by the way, as my pointer. Down in these spots, right along on the ground there and stuff like that. Beautiful spots. But anyways, right under my red dot, right there where my red dot, you see those two sheens right there? I think there's probably a little bit of eye shining going on in that tree at different times when I have it in close. So just gonna make sure I don't have... See, you get to see it again right there. See those two? And what that's about, if those end up being eye shines. There is, trust me, there are guys in there. So if you took the little bit of time, don't spend the hours. Just try a little bit of work and see if you see stuff in there. See if you see them in there. Not to say that they're not in amongst these spots here. And maybe they got some kind of a way that they're shining a good greenish dark. And they don't mind having themselves up that close. Well, hey, Tommy. Because they're just not opening their mind enough, really, Tammy, if we think about it, because that's a lot of work to really sit here and listen to some guy say, I think I'm seeing their eye shine right. Well, it's not even eye shine, it's eye glow. And this is a perfect example. If you get in there and you see something in there on that video, and you see that where you're thinking that it's the same thing, think of it as eye glow, because it's a power from within. And that's deep in me in belief. And part of how that's deep with me in belief is because I'll sit here night after night. I'm going to hit pause there for a moment. And I'm going to use my red pointer as my pointer. Well, what we get to see on a cloudy day, so we don't get to see much, but what we get to see, what you guys are actually seeing back in here is you're seeing the flatlands. It's actually where, it's all our floodplains and stuff. We as humans get to compile a lot of data. So what I'll do is, with using the red dot again, along here, there are different red lights for antennas and stuff, especially back in this area over here, where Matsqui has, I think it's the military kind of army land, where they have a big transfer station of different army function transfers of information. So they beam the information however they do to there, and through these different setup of antennas, they're beaming different information. It's an actual kind of a fairly hot spot of information that gets beamed around from out of there. With no threats or anything like that, because, the security around it is pretty tame, other than if you go and park near there, immediately the security does come over and checks and sees, and you're not even on the property, and they'll check and see why you're hanging around in the area. So they react that quick. Anyways, red antennas, different kind of lightings and stuff like that. Well, I tell you, I am a really smart guy in some respects, especially when you study it night after night after night. Well, these guys get up into these trees here, right around in this, I think it's this lot right here. Somebody hangs out in right basically where my red dot is. I have yet to figure out if maybe there's a tree a little bit further that he hangs out in. There's a red dotter guy that hangs out in somewhere around here. I can't really, until I'm there, I don't work that hard on pinpointing the actual trees. I get kind of flashlight kind of stuff where you just get lights that quick. So when I turn around and I look over this way to look to here, down in here and over here and maybe over here, I'll get as I'm bringing my head there, they'll flash a light over here and flash a light over there. And what they're doing is they're trying to pick up on my skills of watching, my skills of observing. They do it with noises all the time and stuff like that. Like, they're getting way more into taking two rocks, whether they're doing hand clap with the rocks or they're actually taking, and you can tell that there's girth to those rocks. They're not slight little rocks, and they'll take the rocks and they'll slam it down on another piece of rock. And anybody, like, I sit there and I can go, okay, is that machinery working? Is there somebody working off in the forest there that I don't know about because I know where it's coming from right now? And blah, blah, blah. When you're on it almost 24 hours a day, in so many ways, like, I know I have to sleep and stuff, so it can't be, but when I wake up, guess what I tune into? I don't tune into thinking about my ex-wife or my kids or, the dog I once had or anything like that. I go exactly right to these points, and I'm aware to, are they getting that crow to me right now? Are they getting those dogs barking? Are they getting that blue jay set? You start to really understand the attitudes of the cows. There's that one video that is so freaking mind-boggling. And it's really hard for people to get their head wrapped around it. This is the one. Because what you get to hear for the first minute, I think it's the right one, for the first minute or so, you have to listen really hard, and you get to hear cows. In the first minute, unless it's the cows afterwards, the coyotes, because you can see that this says something about, does it say coyotes or anything? Maybe not. There you go. Anyways, yeah, let's just do it. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Because it said 7 minutes, I thought. So we were going to hear cattle here, right? You guys hearing cattle? Got your ear to the phone? I'm trying to look for my speaker. Oh well. Okay, now we get up to... So basically you get cattle up to here. And then you get this start around 104 or something. Listen. And then you get this. And you get this for a minute. And then when this completely shuts down, you still have cattle going on. And everybody who listens to this wants to put coyotes in their mind and just the comfort of coyotes. But what you're not doing is fine. Then it's their pets. You got to understand there's a connection. These coyotes, you can hear guys roughing. Like, I'm not dumbwitted by the sounds. I know coyotes, and I know they like to play like this sometimes. Oh yeah, I think I say puppy in this one.
Puppy?
But listen. See?
Puppy?
And then, I think if you listen really closely again, I think I have to put it right to my ear to hear it. Then we get to hear the cattle again. And if you're not thinking, if you're watching these shows and you're not, and if you're thinking, like I said, I was talking to my dad and I said, Dad, what's the big deal with coyotes around farmers and stuff? Do they get worried about the coyotes that would act like this around their cattle? Because these cattle get to range walk all the time through the night. And he said from his experience, you don't worry much about coyotes unless something's dead or it's around closer to small animals and stuff like that. But with the big animals, you don't worry about them such. So I obviously say to my dad, you know, Dad, they have this ability where they are really good at controlling their sounds and making sure that they know where their sounds are going. And so in these cases, they're really probably amongst the coyote noises, or they're higher on the ridge. It might be the two different groups, because as you can see in my videos, I'm saying there's a big pile of them probably in there. There's probably a pile of them in there. There's probably a totem of them over there in those trees, and so on and so forth. They don't have to be, if they're thousands, they don't have to be thousands right here. In many cases, there's probably singular. In many cases, there probably is truly someone who has an understanding of a job as a scout, in a way. You know, that stuff's been talked about for a long time, and yeah, their more awareness has changed because I think they put more scouts out and stuff. Like, they've been learning in this transition. They've learned more things. If I act out too much of my stuff of how I'm nailing them all the time to, you know, to whatever, they might make the decision to cut back on what they feel is, well, we're being too obvious then. We're doing too many eye glows for them. And so, yeah, I also shared with my dad that Iranian video and that conversation. And I don't know where my dad's mind goes with this thing, right? But he's a nice man where he's treating me pretty well with it, I'll tell you that much. And he said, yeah, make sure you share that video. And he doesn't say that to me. So he was very interested in seeing the Iranian video. And if you haven't seen it, it's, you know, it's in that playlist thing of mine where it, other videos, you know, where it says that other videos that can have stuff that adds in. Blah, blah, blah. And part of like this one here, you know, the bull mastiff was just there. So part of, you know, I know he just took, oh no, maybe that was the other one where I thought he was back. Yeah, that's a new one. He said the bull mastiff went walking past, or was in the neighborhood again or whatever. Alrighty. I think Tin Man is done here. I'm kind of thinking about, you talk about how they mimic other animals. Well, how they mimic the other animals is basically those coyote noises. If we truly get into, you're very welcome, Tammy. We truly get into, oh crap, you guys, whoops.
Bob Hart's Abby Shola.
Hate it when they're tapped there, go like this. There we go. Yes, I do know what you're talking about, the lights. Okay, so the light part of it is a mimic in itself. They are this clued into us. Hey, Skibo, you're very welcome. They are this glued into us. They know that this will give my eyes some kind of shine. They know that it does with other animals. They have their power of an actual glow-like light like this. I'm going heavy on this one. This light that they have, I say, as far as I can tell, it comes from their eyes. In my first face-to-face video, if you can connect with that guy, just before the 2-minute time, I believe it's before the 2-minute for sure. I don't know if it's within seconds or whatever. This eye right here, just watch right here on this eye when you see those two big black looking things, when you find them. And look at this guy on this side, and I'm looking from that way this way. And close to that time, you get to just see a little twink. I always thought it was something just probably falling and just catching that light. But I've watched it again recently here, and you can tell it's coming from his eye. And it all carries forward all the way to this information of me personally having dozens and dozens and dozens of times now with them doing eye glow trickery things. Lots of people out there have claims of seeing orbs. I don't think they're orbs. I think they're going to be the eye glows. That's what I think they're going to be. See, I don't react like, I can't remember if I've really reacted going, oh, what's that? To a light on purpose and tried to play into it. I react by, sometimes when they're twinkling through a bush and stuff and they feel that they're in a comfortable enough spot, because that's when they'll do it, is when they know there's houses behind you, when they know there's a street light behind them, when there's things like this behind them and you're on this side, then they're comfortable with doing that stuff. When they're just based on darkness, that's why I said it earlier on this video, when it's just black area where I said earlier, one thing I missed there was that behind there is completely dark. So they'll only do those flashes of light like that. And they generally will not leave them on there. But if you're the type of person that tries that reaction and what the heck was that? And then you go about your stuff again and give them another chance to maybe, what the heck was that again? And then maybe because they don't see the question in you of going towards them, and you're just clueless, and you're just, what the heck is that? Then they might get comfortable enough to make that a continuous adventure for you. They might make it comfortable enough, that changes. And that's why I say to you that with real time, them really trying to hide, because I don't know what they're doing. I don't understand the difference here. Maybe somehow it isn't. It is a difference in them. I somehow think, well, maybe it's just the difference with us, but I don't think it's the difference with us. I've got some recall of 50-something years of, of my 53 years of life. Yeah, I think I'm coming up to 54. So I can't say that yet. Anyway, so 53 years of life, I think I'm able to reflect on these guys. When you start going out to a tree and you look at the patterns in the bark and you realize and you just go, okay, Tin Man says, Ian says that you see raw wood in there where it's the inner parts of the wood, and you can see it's a lighter color. It's not dark and dirty, but it's bright like this or something and really raw looking. And you take your micro thing camera and you're looking in there with your magnifying glass or whatever, and you can, it really does look like wood is whittled off of this side and then whittled off. Because when they're going to make something, they like to make it in a valley. So when they cut it into wood, they will work from both sides. Generally, probably 90% of the time. When they're working on, picking at our driveways and the concrete and all that kind of stuff, you'll notice not exactly at that moment necessarily they're working on both sides, but they work on this side this time. Maybe next time they're working on that side, and so on and so forth. In a wood trait in bark design, they probably feel way more comfortable of doing that heavily in some cases. And you'd never see the whittled wood left behind. But if you got the sharp eye for woodwork and so on and so forth, you can tell it's been cut out of there. It's not been broken off and stuff. Not to say, you could come across a tree where you're, this is all so smashed apart and it looks like woodpeckers and there's piles of little pieces and chunks piled all over the place and stuff like that. Those are confusion messes that they get involved in. But when you stand there and you watch woodpeckers actually work and watch at the chunks of wood that they're actually pulling away and generally and stuff like that, that gives you also lots of thought medicine. So what you have to realize is you're kind of wanting to get down on your hands and knees a little bit and look at the ants again and watch them actually for a half an hour and actually try to understand what they're up to. And then once you're off the ants, do it with a different bug. Do it with the birds. Sit there with the birds and whistle to the birds and stuff like that and see if they'll come around and be your friends. When we're at the parks and it's kind of fun to feed animals and stuff like that, it's almost as much fun as feeding your children, probably, in a way, but we just don't let ourselves really kind of deserve it on that level. But if you do that and you start to understand the trees and the weeds, when you start to look at the weeds and stuff and you start to realize, holy cow, because that's what I've done way back, years back. So I don't get into a number of these things because I already successfully did it. And realized, well, these guys, this in particular plant, these guys are transplanting this plant. They either picked it because they were eating it, or they're picking it to retransplant it. You get down on your hands and knees. There's spots where I lifted up ground that I could hardly even tell it was played with, but it just showed me a little bit of signs. And I picked it up and I could tell that something was, that was part of the ground. But it was lifted so they could pull out all those plants, and they put that part of the ground back down, and just somehow I could just look at that part. And there's no other animals out there that do this thing. Dealing with a farmer one time, and I said, okay, you've got lots of pictures of the bears and you believe it's just the bears and stuff like that. Well, has there ever been anything that was a little bit odd that the bears did and stuff like that? And he said, well, there's been a couple of times where they pile the corn after they're finished raiding the field. And so what ends up being that thing there, and if you've seen that one of Polly, she's a Canadian, she's a very interesting person to watch. I like her. Anyways, so it's just stacked in a corn pile like this, right? All the cobs. The thing about it is the cobs are completely stripped, at least in that time. As these guys go on and they realize, hey, our cobs don't look enough like bear cobs, we better leave our cobs different. That's when our minds have to do the work to assess this stuff. With this guy's story, it's super easy to assess. Ears completely pulled off. The cob is clean, so clean that you know how each one of those corns has a little sack? Well, the Bigfoot don't eat that sack. They just take the corn completely out from each one of those sacks. Is it like that every time? I don't know. In my case of the corns that I fed for a treat on the day of my first face-to-face meeting, I had some corn and stuff in my truck because I took it there to give to them, and I went in there all paranoid doing my stuff. It was my 13th day on my expedition of, searching Bigfoot. And I had my interaction, then I felt compelled to go get it, went and got it, left it for them, come back a couple of days later, I think, or whatever, and that's what I got. I got completely de-eared corns left, clean right from the end, right to the very tip, not the tips broken off or eaten or whatever type thing like this, and each one of them, done that well. So I already had my little experience. Then I'm sitting there, and then so what my smart ass kind of comment to the guy was, so because he had talked about raccoons too or whatever type thing. Well, I don't know if maybe he tried to throw in, well, maybe the raccoons pile it. Maybe that's what he had said. I can't remember. So I said to him, a pile of corn. What does the raccoon family bring in? Like 30 family members? And who's taking down all those, because there's even going to be understanding when you walk up. So go to circle cropping, guys. I kid you not. These guys are that smart. They know how to hold hand to hand and make a circle perfect. Oh, these perfect circles. And so on and so forth. I bet you I could go. Well, I don't bet you. But I would love to be challenged to be able to go to those circles. And because these guys hide their marks. And I've learned to follow many of their marks and how they hide them and so on and so forth. I bet you a lot of those circles are close to a forest, closer to the forest part of the farmer's property in more cases than way over where it's just tons and tons of unsecured areas or whatever. There'll be little tidbits of clues that might just help show that it helps hamper these guys on their invisibility to it. Now, when you're a corn raider, wouldn't making crop circles make so sense whether you're going to waste the corn in there or not? Maybe they only to make it not look suspicious. They do different little trips in there to whatever, but I'd love to be challenged with that one. Like, if you're still here, my friend from down under, how these guys are fully connected, for sure, 100%, is through their clawing technique. And that clawing technique and farming technique and stuff is also in mill farming. So, in minerals, I should say. And also in wood, when you really get into the wood aspect of it, it's almost like they're millwrights. Anyways, so they're into minerals. The charcoal, the coal that we use is basically it's old trees that have been buried, fallen for however, we kind of don't know a history on the age of trees we talk about. But there's trees that have been buried, you figure, for thousands of years or something to turn into coal and stuff. So, if that's the real way we get our coal is just from kind of charred trees that buried and they become to a certain state in life where they become this coal like ingredient. If that's one of the ways, or if that is primarily the way, then these guys are farmers. These guys farm what they farm. Did they fluke out and make coal? Do they know the farming so in depth into the world that they actually farm to make the oil ingredients actually doing how they come? Like, how do they come? I have no clue how the oil is there. I just know that there's supposed to be oil pockets in different places and stuff. My fracking experience and learning about the word fracking, taking two pieces of rock and being able to do this thing where you just kind of and you break them apart and then you can open them up like that and you're doing this fracking pressure breaking and stuff, wasn't through what happens in Alberta and stuff like that, which we've started up in the last few years of a bunch of oil fracking ways of retrieving oil and stuff. Mine was, here comes my son to go to work, so I'm cutting her off right now. Peace out. Thank you for all hanging out, and we'll see you guys next time.